Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Make him the cutest that I've ever seen. Give him two lips like roses and clover. Then tell him that his lonesome nights are over. Sandman, I'm so alone.
Alright, hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentleman. I am Sid Part 2. Joining me today is...
Shaboy Rasco.
Shaboy Rasco. We are continuing Geeky Gentleman Horror Month with what I think will surprise a lot of people as a horror pick, because, you know, most people don't traditionally associate Sandman by Neil Gaiman with horror, but I certainly associate this story with horror, and this fan film is fucking terrifying. So, Rasco, what are we reviewing today?
I don't know the official name, but I think it's like 24-Hour Diner, Sandman fan film, something like that. I don't know.
Yep, Sandman 24-Hour Diner. So this is weird, because we reviewed one other Sandman fan film before, and it, too, was a direct adaptation of a pre-existing Sandman comic book. This is a direct adaptation of a pre-existing Sandman comic book, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. It's so weird that, like, fan films for Sandman seem to just want to translate the work to film as opposed to, like, tell their own story with dream or death or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I find that kind of interesting. But you not being a Sandman fan, Rasco, what'd you think of this, and was it super confusing?
It wasn't... Okay, I really like this fan film. I think it's like really, it's kind of awesome. Like, it's just really well made, and it's really weird, but it's just really, like, atmospheric, and I just like the vibe. But I don't know, like, how much I'm missing. Because, like, I know I'm familiar to some extent with Dr. Destiny.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I understood that, like, why things were happening, and, like, I don't know, I didn't feel that lost.
And I wouldn't expect you to. This issue plays just pretty well on its own in the comic. Dream doesn't have much at all to do with the moment to moment of this issue. The context for this is the red stone Dr. Destiny is using is clearly his source of power and how he's doing this, correct?
Mm-hmm.
That much is evident in the film.
Yeah.
The context is that Morpheus created that stone hundreds of years ago and put a lot of his power into it. Due to the events at the beginning of the first issue of Sandman, that stone was stolen from him, and through a certain sequence of events wound up in the hands of Dr. Destiny. So this is like all the shit that goes down before Morpheus is able to get his stone back, that Dr. Destiny decides to do on one of his escapes from Arkham Asylum. And this is just fucking horrifying. This is a sadistic madman with absolute power. And God, the imagery in this book, and by extension this film, I think this film does a fantastic job of just perfectly adapting, in the most horrific possible sense, the images from this comic.
Yeah, this was really messed up.
I was watching this with Haley, my wife, for those that don't know, and she had to cover her eyes during the scene where the girl stabs out her own eyes. So yeah, it's got a lot of that. This is just very graphic, in the best possible way, in my opinion. So just generally, what do you think of this, since you didn't feel too confused?
So I really liked this because, one, this is exactly the kind of thing that you adapt and make into a fan film, just on the scale of the story.
Mm-hmm.
This is like exactly what you do, like to a T. The casting was overall pretty good. I thought it was really good. In fact, I thought that the actress that kind of gives the monologue where she's talking about like the worst thing she ever did while she's smoking the cigarette.
Mm-hmm.
I thought she was really good, and I thought that scene could have played horribly and been really cringy if it wasn't handled as well, like on her part. She did so well. I really liked her. I think that what I really like about the story is it's a few different things that I really like in stories when they're on their own, kind of put together. I really like stories that are about like people being isolated, and then like these kind of like weird cultures and like weird kind of interactions happening between people in such a like enclosed environment. They kind of like develop in really weird ways, but it's that mixed with this weird kind of like diving deeper into madness kind of structure, which I also really like, where like you start off and things are this way and then they just slowly kind of devolve until it's like so surreal. You're like, how do we even get to this? Mm-hmm. And it's like that combined with what I was just talking about a second ago. And like, I really like that. And that's why I really liked it. And it has such striking visuals, but it's like handled in a really somewhat energetic and kind of like fun way, where it's like aware of the ridiculousness of like what's happening, like the scene where the two guys are fighting on the ground for like over the females, and it's like a nature documentary. That is hilarious, but it's not funny in the context of that, because like they're not doing it of their own free will. Mm-hmm. And like they're all pawns is what makes it really, really scary.
Definitely. Just the very notion of that, like, someone is making you do something just awful. Like, there's not a thing he makes them do that is not awful. It is the most sadistic thing. Just the notion of someone having the power to make you do that, and there's nothing you can do to stop it, to just be a prisoner in your own body like this, is freaking horrific. Hands down, my favorite moment from the comic, and it plays pretty well here, is when he gives them their minds back. That has got to be just like it is the extra level of sadism right there. Mm-hmm. When he lets them be perfectly lucid but still aware of everything they've done so far. That's terrifying. And you just got the one trucker that's sitting there, and he's like, "Why are you doing this to us? Why?" And he's like, "Because I can." It's so freaking demented. I found it interesting the way they managed to capture a lot of the visuals of this, because Dr. Destiny does not necessarily look much like he does in the comic, because in the comic he looks like just a freaking skeleton. Mm-hmm. Like, in all honesty, I could play Dr. Destiny. Like, this guy is, he's a heftier actor, but he does an amazing job. What I'm really impressed with the look of him is just how freaking demented he looks. Because, have you seen Legion, the FX series? He looks like the yellow-eyed devil, right?
Okay, never mind. I have not seen the FX series. I thought you were referring to the really bad movie that also takes place in a 24-hour diner.
No, I've not seen that. No, the FX series Legion, like, there's this character called the yellow-eyed devil. Like, he changes his names 3 times. And, like, it looks like that, but the thing is, that character is just a massive makeup and visual effects job in the FX series. This is makeup and lighting, and it looks so demented. Dr. Destiny here looks terrifying.
I think it was like, did they add? Okay, so you've seen Mad Max Fury Road, right?
No.
Okay, well then never mind. But there's like this. Okay, so like when he takes his like shirt off and kind of like reveals his like chest, he has like these weird like ripples that they like put on with prosthetics underneath like his nipples, kind of like where your like rib cage is. And there's like in Mad Max Fury Road, like the main villain of that movie, he has like the same thing going on, and it's like really weird and creepy. It's hard to explain what I'm talking about, but I thought that was really off-putting and cool.
Yeah, I mean, just everything about Dr. Destiny, it looks terrifying here. The way they frame him, initially when I went through just scrolling to see if this would be something worth reviewing, I saw the camera, like, quality and some of the camera movements in the very beginning. And I was like, this looks like it might be alright, but have, like, kind of iffy camera movement, camera direction quality. And I may stick by that. I think it's got really good framing. I think maybe just the restrictions of where they were shooting, since I'm pretty sure they're in a real diner, may have made it like impossible to get some really smooth camera shots. But I think the best, absolute hands down best thing about this, from a visual side, is not any of the effects, even though they look great. It's the damn lighting. There are so many moments in this where it's just all the atmosphere and the tone and everything is just perfectly captured by the lighting. Like, when we first get, like, a real good close-up on Dr. Destiny and the light goes red around him because it's coming off the ruby, and just when he's, like, consulting the oracles and there's that, like, sickening shade of yellow shining down on the three women, and then there's, like, the scene where he's telling them the story about Snow White, and he's like, the witch ate the green half, and she handed Snow White the red half. And, like, he's lit by green light in the top frame, and the rest of the cast is lit by red light in the bottom. And it's like, Jesus Christ, this is creepy. All the lighting perfectly captures the mood of this. Everything looks really, really perfectly lit.
Yeah, it's really weird. Lighting is one of those things where it's like really not fun to talk about it, but it's like so important when you actually are shooting, like that you realize like, oh my God, like there's so much you have to deal with in regards to lighting a scene. And oftentimes, like you can get away with not lighting a scene at all using what natural light is available sometimes. But it's one of those things where you think it looks fine, and then you actually use some actual lights to get what you're looking for, some sort of effect or some sort of look, and you go, oh my God, this looks so much better. Like, even though it's such a hassle, it looks so much better, and it's really well integrated here.
Yeah, I think so. Like, again, I think some of the camera movement and stuff is their biggest problem. Like, would you agree that first opening shot, where Beth, like, walks back to the kitchen and then walks back in front of the camera, it's just, like, a little shaky? Because it's obviously, I'm reasonably confident that it's like just handy cam, but I get over that so quickly because of just how immersive and how well framed everything is. They do mostly stable shots. They don't do a ton of camera movement here. They do a lot of stable shots, and I think it pays off really well because it's got really good framing, and it just perfectly captures all the lighting. Wow.
Yeah. I agree with you that like that opening shot is, I actually think it's like literally almost a non-issue after the beginning. Like I think it just like that problem really goes away almost. There's like a few shots I know where like something's happening and I don't remember exactly what it is. It might have been like when the two guys were fighting and then one guy was like biting the other guy's neck. There was some like really like interesting like smooth shot where it's kind of like almost like a helicopter rotating above them. I don't know if it was actually that was happening when this camera movement was happening, but like there was like a few camera movements that I thought were really cool. I really thought it was hilarious, just that shot of all of them having like a huge orgy behind the counter.
Yeah, it's like that dark humor, and you got the Addams Family theme playing, and Dr. Destiny says "neat" in time with where it's said in the theme. That's right out the comic, and it's just that really sick, dark sense of humor. I was really, really impressed with this, just on a visual sense, because, I mean, like, we talked about how good the effects work looked in that Game of Thrones fan film a couple weeks ago. The blood and gore effects here are on point. It looks great. It is just... It's sickening. Like, it's hard to look at. That's how well it's done, I think.
Yeah. In particular, the like sliced open or bitten open neck.
Yeah, the bitten open neck, the nails through the hand, the pointers, and like I think it's knives in the eyes.
I didn't think that they would even try to show that. I thought it was awesome that they did.
Yeah, and like it's scary looking, isn't it? Like I don't know how they manage that. That is a lot of fucking work. That's all I can think of. This is just really, really well done from a visual directing side of things. And I mean, it's weird to talk about the story here because it's Neil Gaiman. Neil Gaiman's one of the greatest story writers in my book ever, certainly of the last 100 years. And so it's like a really, really solid story. So I don't have a ton to say about it outside of just, as I always tell people, go fucking read Sandman. What are you doing listening to a stupid podcast? Go read Sandman. But what did you think of the story, though? Because I'm curious on your take of it.
I kind of love this story.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's just something that I'm in. Like, I just like it. I don't.
No, that's fine.
Have some sort of like deep reason. It's more so this is like right up my alley in terms of like things that immediately interest me.
Mm-hmm.
Because one, like I kind of already said this earlier, like it's just a mixture of a few different things that I like.
Gotcha.
Individually kind of combined, and it's also just really weird, and you kind of have to just sit and get through it before you can really go like, how did I feel about that? It's the kind of thing where like even if you're watching it and you're not liking it, I have a hard time imagining that you would turn it off.
Yeah, you kind of like you're kind of committed, and you just, unless you're just like so disgusted by what happens on screen, which is certainly fair, I feel like you're kind of committed to see this through to the end, to see what the hell he's doing to them. And I really like the metaphor of the spider that continues throughout here. Here's a thing that shouldn't get praised but does because no one does it anymore. We don't have a dead metaphor, which is like, you hear this a lot like with rap songs. They'll say like, I'm like this, I'm like that, and then they'll never connect back to that at any point. It'll just be like jumping from one thing to the next. Mm-hmm. Here, Dr. Destiny is the spider, the people are the flies. And we get that all the way up to the point when there's literally a fly buzzing around the restaurant. He bewitches it with the stone and then eats it. And like that is just, for my money, that is the like sequence that perfectly times this whole thing up. Like, I'm half tempted, like this has a trailer, but I can't use the trailer because of a copywritten song that's in it. I'm half tempted to open this episode with just that shot.
Mm-hmm.
Because, goddamn, that is terrifying.
Yeah. One thing I want to give like this fan film a lot of praise for is that like it did everything the right way, and like everyone must have really committed to this.
Mm-hmm.
One, the casting, there's not a single person that's too young or too old to be playing who they're playing.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I don't know if there's a single fan film we've ever reviewed where literally every single member of the cast is actually like the proper age to be playing the character they're playing.
Oh, that's a good question. But I think you might be right. That's a really good point.
I mean, yeah.
How'd you feel about the cast individually? Like, how was their acting, do you think?
I thought that they were all really good. I thought that they had to do things that must have been really hard and maybe really scary at first. Mm-hmm. Here's something I'll just bring up, for example. The girl who stabs her eyes, she is, like, you can straight up see her full breast in this. Mm-hmm. And, like, it maybe doesn't seem like a big deal because there are so many movies and there's so much television now where we do see, like, full nudity. But the thing is, imagine if you were an actress and someone comes to you and they're like, oh yeah, I want you to be in my fan film. And, it's a Sandman fan film, yada, yada. And you're going to have your shirt off and it's not a big thing. It's kind of throwaway. It's not like we focus on that. But you're going to do that. And, like, that's going to be out there. There's going to be this video of you, like, topless, and it's going to be out there. And if it's turned out really bad and really embarrassing, and if this was like a terrible fan film, that would be hard to commit to. Mm-hmm. And you don't know that going into it. Like, that's the kind of stuff, and, like, it's not a big deal necessarily, but, like, it kind of is a big deal. It's, like, weird. Like, it'd be very understandable why you wouldn't want to do that, but this is so well handled that it's like, no, like, it was worth it. Like, little things like that were worth it.
I'm just going to say real quick about that. I'm always, like, so just impressed when that stuff manages to stay on YouTube, you know? And, like, even when there's, like, a hint of nudity. It's so bizarre, because, like, the movie Caligula from 1979, for a time, it may well still be, was on YouTube, its full X-rated cut in its entirety. I have no idea how. For, like, years. In any case, yeah, that was a really good point. See, I thought that the actress that what was her name? I can't remember the actress's name. The actress that is wearing, like, the leather jacket the whole time. Her and the young guy who's, like, there before a job interview. I thought they were probably weaker at the beginning, but as this went on, they got really, really into it. Like, watching that young guy on the floor pretending to be a lion. I mean, that's, like, a really weird thing to ask someone to do. And, like, I legit believe that character thinks he's a lion right now. And it's, like, it's such a silly scene and such a serious frickin' movie. And yet it's terrifying and kind of, like, hard to watch because, he's sitting there degrading himself for this sick bastard's entertainment. The rest of the actors I thought were really, really good. Like you said, the lady that gives the monologue with the cigarette, I thought she was really great. I thought Beth was fantastic to watch. Like, they actually added something to her character in this that was not in the original comic. I went back and read it out of curiosity because I didn't remember that. When Beth is sitting there with Marsh and he's putting the nails in his hand, in the comic, it does not have that final moment where she puts in the last one. Mm-hmm. They added that, and I thought it worked really, really well. And I think the actress totally sold that. The actor that plays John Dee, Dr. Destiny, is creepy as balls, and he does a really good job of just looking like he's enjoying the fuck out of himself. I love the scene where they got him on their shoulders and he's got God carved in his chest and he eats or drinks blood from the guy's cut off finger. Fuck. I would say the only, like, actor who I really didn't think did a good job is, like, a really minor character is the news anchor that, like, introduces the story about, like, what's going on in the world, because I don't know if you got the impression or not. I'm sure you did. It came off in this fan film that the whole world was going to hell because of Dr. Destiny, right? Uh-huh. Okay. I wasn't sure if that was, like... Because in the comic, you get a couple shots of the outside world as this is happening, just, like, panels. So I wasn't sure if that was effectively communicated in the film or not, but obviously it was. But that's the only actor who I thought was like kind of flat, kind of like Ben Steining it, and otherwise, I mean, it's such a small part, it doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's talk about this section, because this was entirely added for the film, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. I've mixed feelings about it. What did you think of the animated section?
I thought that it was very well animated.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't in it, I could take it or leave it, though.
Yeah, it wasn't in the original comic. Dream just kind of shows up at the end. Let me ask you this. Since they don't say it, I know you've seen images of Sandman before, but, like, did you feel, based just in the context of the film, you knew who that was? Because they mentioned the Dream Lord at one point.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
It's kind of tough for me to, like, take myself out of what I already know, but, like, I think I effectively communicated that enough.
Okay, because, I mean, I loved the animated section. I thought it looked really, really fucking awesome. It was like, the only thing I have to compare it to is Pink Floyd's The Wall, which, in my mind, I can't think of a higher compliment to an animated section of a live-action film. It is right up there with Pink Floyd's The Wall for me. Like, it's got the same visual, just, like, bizarreness and surrealism to it. Like, Dream bathing in a hourglass covered in, like, literal sands of time as he busts out and then flies across the universe. Like, okay, so I thought this was really interesting to see animated, because they only, like, mention it now and again in the comic. And, like, he talks about this is how he gets around. So there's the section where he's flying through space, and then he starts, like, popping in and out of people's heads, and you see, like, a wire connect people's heads.
Yeah.
What did you think that was trying to visually represent?
I think that was, like, him going from, like, traveling by, like, person to person's mind. Like...
through their dreams.
Yeah. Like, yeah.
Yeah, that was it. And I thought that was just really cool. I love the Superman reference we get in that. That was really, really awesome.
I thought that was cool, too, yeah.
I'm a little torn on it. I'm going to give him a pass. In the section where he fights the deceased, like, souls or whatever of the people John D. had been tormenting in the diner. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give him, like, honestly, anyone in the dream world that fights Dream should not have a goddamn chance in like, for a second. If you are a creature of Dream, you should have no chance against Dream. That being said, Dr. Destiny is apparently doing this using the power of the Dreamstone against him, which is a massive object of power for Morpheus in the comics, so that makes sense. And at this point, he is still fairly weak from the events of the beginning of the series, so I'll give it a pass. But that was really cool. My only thing about it is it's kind of twofold. I really like that segment, but I find it weird to put that in here, being that, one, it didn't exist in the comic, and two, leaving it the way you left it. Yes, this is the end of issue 6, and issue 7 is their quote-unquote battle, but, like, doesn't it feel like a little underwhelming that you don't get to see Dream resolve everything Dr. Destiny did? And my thought is, wouldn't the budget or whatever of the fan film that was dedicated to the animated sequence have been better served either animating or shooting, integrating live action and animation for their battle? That is my, like, to demonstrate, like, a more concise version of their battle, and, like, you wouldn't have to do the rest of issue 7, but, like, I don't know, I feel a little like we're left hanging on Dr. Destiny getting punished for what the fuck he just did. Thoughts?
It's one of those things where I don't know like how much money was actually allocated to the animation itself.
True. I'm just saying, like, even if it wasn't a financial side of things, the time and not just the time put into it, but the time that it takes up in the film. I just feel like, okay, because in the comic, you get to hour 24. Sandman has not been seen throughout the entire issue. You get to hour 24, he walks in the diner. That is what literally happens. The whole sequence of him going there, I love, like, again, I'm really mixed on it because I really love that section. I just feel like it's underutilizing the efforts of the story. Like, so that whole section of animation is not in the comic in any way, shape, or form. He just shows up, and then the next issue, he talks with Destiny briefly, and then decides, okay, if we're going to fight in my realm of dreams, and then they go and they fight in dreams briefly. And so I don't know, I'm thinking that the time that was put into that could have been used to resolve the conflict as opposed to ending it on the cliffhanger of their fight, which, again, seems particularly odd that you end it there, and then the next thing that they want to do, whether or not this ever happens is a question, the next thing that they want to do is a story from several issues later that involves completely new characters. Because you saw the thing with the poster that says serial convention. That's a pun. I'll say that, and hopefully it doesn't spoil it too much. So yeah, I don't know, that was something that I really liked the animation, but I felt it underutilized and left a little, like, it lacks catharsis. There we go. How's that? It lacks catharsis not showing John Dee and Dream battling.
That's fair.
I don't know. I really like this, though. Like, that is... honestly, that's just me saying, okay, now I just want to see that fight. I just want to see that interaction now. So, please make more, is my thought. I'd like to see what they do with the Corinthian as well, but I'd also like to see a resolution to that scene with Destiny and Dream. Not sure if I have anything else to say about this. Do you?
I don't think I have anything else to say.
Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to ratings then. Rasco, what will you rate this?
I'm going to give this 4.5 nails to the hand out of 5.
I mean, I've had my complaints about it, but I honestly cannot take away points from it. I enjoyed it so much that, like, any kind of complaint I had, it's just overwhelmed. So I'm going to go ahead and give it 5 out of 5 Dreamstones. Okay, Rasco, what are we talking about next time?
All right, next time we're going to be talking about It fan film by the YouTube channel Ostracized Film Productions.
Sounds cool. Sounds exciting. Everyone, thank you very much for watching. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
And I'm the Beta Male Cook.
And we are your Geeky Gentlemen. And we will be discussing things.
Ah!